HHB 2nd of the 377 Parachute Field Artillery Regiment for the 25th ID. So yeah, that was a mouthful.
That is a mouthful.
Wow, yeah.
Is that in your email signature block? Did you have to write that out every time?
Welcome to Guys Fishing Weekly. We don't just fish, we hook.
Hey, buddy.
Eddie.
How are you, man?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing well.
Are you?
Doing well. Spring, baby.
That is. It's springtime. It's right around the corner, dog. It's right around the corner, dog. Hey, who do we got on the show today?
Well, before we do that, today's show is sponsored by Trout Routes. Winter trout fishing can be a challenge, but it's also one of the most rewarding seasons to be on the water. To make the most of it, you need the right tools, and that's where Trout Routes Pro comes in. With satellite imagery and detailed maps of over 50,000 trout streams, you can scout winter-friendly spots like deep pools, tailwaters, and areas that stay ice-free. Planning your trip is easier than ever with over 350,000 access points mapped, plus custom markers that let you track your favorite winter runs or places to warm up. You can even check stream flows and water temperatures to ensure you're fishing in the most productive conditions. Winter fishing is about precision and preparation. Let Trout Routes Pro be your guide to finding the perfect stretch of water this season. Podcast listeners can save 20% on their first year of Trout Routes Pro by using code WEEKEND2025 at maps.troutroutes.com. That's 20% off your first year of Trout Routes Pro by using code WEEKEND2025 at maps.troutroutes.com. Today on the show, we're talking with Boyd Waters, fly tyer and kayak fishing guide known as Fly Fishing Studios on Instagram.
Great conversation with Boyd. He has done and seen quite a bit.
No doubt.
And it was a great conversation. Authentic to the bone, dude. It was cool. Good.
It was.
He's a good dude. Yeah.
We talk about topics including tying with deer hair, veterans returning to civilian life, Project Healing Waters, and some of the coolest deer hair caricatures known to man.
They are awesome. Let's do it, dude.
Hey, Boyd, welcome to the show.
How's it going?
Good to have you here, brother. Good to see you. Where do we find you, Boyd?
I'm located right here in Hanover, Virginia.
Nice.
Been here pretty much all my life.
Good deal. You're our first Virginian.
Oh, well, I feel privileged.
Yes.
I'm lucky because there's probably a lot of people here that probably are better at what I do, but I'm known as that hippie guy that does this. So everyone's like, "Hey, you're the guy with dreadlocks."
Yeah. Love it.
Every state needs a hippie.
That's right.
So why don't you give us a little background on yourself and how you got into fishing and why you've stuck with it?
Awesome. So I was born here in Henrico, Virginia, and I graduated from Patrick Henry High School, which is in Hanover. And, I'm known as Fly Fishing Studios Online. When at a young age, started fishing like most of us. You fall in love with fishing, catching that panfish, that bluegill for a lot of us on light tackle. And so I've been fishing, I can say, all of my life. But I didn't really start fly fishing until after my military career when I got out of the service. And that was in 2008, 2009, when I came back from Iraq. I did a little over a year in Iraq, Operation Iraqi Freedom with the US Army. I was a paratrooper, and I was a part of the HHB 2nd of the 377 Parachute Field Artillery Regiment for the 25th ID. So yeah, that was a mouthful.
That is a mouthful.
Wow, yeah.
Is that in your email signature block? Did you have to write that out every time?
Right, just the whole thing. And so I was deployed as personal security detachment, quick reaction force for the 25th IDs. Sergeant Major and Colonel, and for the headquarters battalion. So our job was to escort MVPs, VIPs, and the higher ups wherever they wanted to go for the mission. So, and we drove, we got in firefights, we saw everything a typical soldier sees overseas. And then after my tour, I came home and I was experienced the taboo thing in the military we don't talk about, PTSD. So,
Mm-hmm.
and it's easier for the military to replace a soldier than to spend more money to fix a soldier. So my job was done with the service. I had a new journey in life, and that was to go to the VA and meet people that kind of went through the same thing I did. So I got out in 2009, and at that time I was in a wounded troops battalion, and I just like all soldiers, they're trying to help you kind of like transition from that military mind to the civilian mind. And, what are you going to do with your life? This is not the end of your life, because some people want careers out of it. And I essentially joined for the GI Bill, and I did go to college. And but when I was in the service, I kind of fell in love being in the service and wanted to. I re-enlisted, and then after I got hit with a 122 rocket, and it rung my bell, as they said. Things became different for me. So
Hmm.
I got out of the service, and at that time of my transition, a buddy of mine told me, "Have you heard of Project Healing Waters?" And Project Healing Waters, when I met the program, was not as near as big as it is today as it was back then. It was still kind of in the beginning phases. And I said, no, I hadn't heard. And he said, well, come hang out with me, and I'll show you what it's about. And I went there, and it was just a bunch of other older veterans tying flies. And I was already living in Alaska, and I said, "Yeah, sure, I'll learn how to tie a fly." And it was the most painful thing I've ever learned how to do because I knew nothing. They're giving you a bobbin and a whip finisher and a bodkin dubbing needle, and you're like, "Okay, so what am I doing with this?" And at the time, I was fishing, and I had caught trout on like light tackle, light rods in Alaska, beautiful rainbow trout, beautiful salmon, and they had this great abundance of just fish. And at the same time, I was learning how to tie flies in 2009, and ever since then, I just got hooked. Like it just stuck with me, no matter where I went, tying flies. And then I think in 2010 is when I really started fly fishing. My buddy was like, "Okay, you learned how to tie these flies. Now go fish with these
Now you got to
flies."
learn how to fish
Oh
them,
wow!
right? Yeah.
So you learned how to tie before you even learned how to fish them.
I learned how to tie flies before I learned how to fish them. And then,
Wow.
I was, being a fishing pretty much all my life with light tackle and spinners and bait casters and stuff like that. I remember the first time I went fly fishing, it was at an Eagle River, and I had cast I thought I cast the pole, but I was trying to cast it like a traditional pole, and I was just getting a big spaghetti in front of me, like just a bunch of just. And I still caught a fish. I couldn't believe it because the river pulled my line all the way down, out, and it just dumb luck. And my
Dumb
buddy, he
fishing, dumb luck. Yep.
yeah,
Gotta love it.
and I caught it on a horrible woolly bugger. Like this thing was just. I'm looking up. I have a board right here with all my. I call them dead flies, and I get a big canvas, white canvas, and I just stick them on there. Every fly I've ever used or tied or just messed around with it. But he's still up there, and he's just as raggedy as can be. And but that fly is a memory. So
Right.
a lot of people we get our flies, and especially after we use them so much, we recycle them. You burn them, get the material off, and retie them. And I don't like to do that much. I like to keep my flies, and kind of hang it up. It's a memory. You think
Right.
about every fly you tied that you hated, that you're like, oh, it's so horrible, I'll never catch anything. Or what was I thinking? Where'd this idea come from? Like, and so I kind of stick them up there as like momentums of memory, just kind of like you tell me the story of why I don't remember why, or to remind me why. So,
Right. Right.
but
Boyd, let me ask you. Let me ask you, going back to the transition out of the military and into civilian life, and that process for you. Did that happen? Like, you were stationed in Alaska. Did that happen when you were in Alaska, or did you come back to Virginia?
so that happened when I was in Alaska. So,
Okay.
um, you get back and you do your debriefing from war, and they have community get-togethers and the military ball and all this, and I came back and I had my bell rung, and I like a lot of soldiers, we experience things that we don't really want to talk about, or we do
Right.
talk about, depending on how
Right.
you cope with it. And I'm a person who tends to talk about it. I
Right.
don't try to get into the disturbing details of it, but you get back, and we the transition from it's like, okay, you're hurt. What do you want to do? Do you want us to try to heal you, or do you want to get out? And at that crossroad, I was like, well, I really don't know what I want to do. I don't want to keep going down there. I love the military. I love my brother and sisters in arms. I love defending this flag for this country. I support every commander in chief that's in office, whether I agree with them or not, because that I signed, my paper that I signed says that's what I do, and that's a
Right.
life. That's
Right.
for life. Like,
Mhm.
people forget that. That's the soul. For me, that's my mentality. When you sign
Right.
that paper, your civilian opinions don't matter no more. And
Right.
even when you
Right.
become a civilian, you're still not a civilian, because you done signed certain clauses that say you can't talk about certain things, and that you will
Right.
always be ready to defend the Constitution, and you will always support your commander in chief. So I support every president that's in office, because
Right.
that's our president and this is our country, and that's what we do, whether we like it or not. And that's what
Right.
makes us strong, is that we stand together. So, not trying to be political or anything, but and I and
Right.
I and
No,
I
I imagine that's a way of life, and like you say, you signed up for that, and you believe in that, and I think there's a tremendous respect for that, to be able to put aside, your beliefs, your values, to live this way, and that's awesome. And I imagine that transition back into civilian life, all of a sudden now you have your opinions, you have these things, and so that navigation through that couldn't have been easy, and I
no,
imagine it's not for a lot of soldiers, like you said, and so I think that's incredibly commendable to find, like Project Healing Waters, whatever it is, fly tying, you turn yourself to your family, maybe whatever it might be, but that process is an impressive one, to see you come through.
well, I appreciate that, and thank you for saying that. That's something as soldiers we deal with every day for the rest of our life. It's
Right.
the I always say the road to healing is not overnight; it's a journey, and people forget that for soldiers, especially soldiers that just because the soldier does not bear physical wounds doesn't mean he bears wounds. And
Right.
so when I came back, and I was like, well. And they told me, you're having some issues going on. What do you want to do? And I said, well, I kind of need to heal.
Mm.
I don't want, you don't put an NFL player on the field that has a broke ankle. You
Right.
want to make sure they're physically and mentally healed, and fit and strong. And I was physically and mentally broken. I blew my knee out on an airborne jump, because I'm a paratrooper. So, and I will tell you, jumping in the Alaska over the mountains, is the scene is just, it's engulfed you with love, and like, I, religiously, it's just
Right.
emotional. Just jumping out of a C-130, and then you see a cascade of mountains, and then the sun in the background, and
Yeah.
everything's covered in snow for miles and miles. You feel special, and those are
I
things,
can
the
tell you,
memories.
yeah,
Yeah.
I can tell you, I spent a little time in Alaska, and I'll never forget the first time that I saw Mount McKinley, and like
Oh, yeah.
the majesty of the mountains in Alaska. They seemed. I mean, I'm in. Coming from Colorado, where we have 14ers and we have mountains. You go to Alaska, and the mountains seem so much more in mass and bigger and
Oh, yeah.
more beautiful, and it's like a whole different realm of mountain.
Yeah.
I can't even fathom experiencing that with jumping out of a plane. Like that's
Yeah.
got to just be amazing, dude.
It is. Definitely a sight to see, and it's beautiful. And then landing, you do in the military, you do something called PLF. It's called a parachute landing fall, and they try to help you so you hit all points of contact, which is like feet, knees, hip, elbows, and you do like a little roll and kick your legs over.
Right,
And
like a
but
ninja.
yeah, like a ninja, and that's because you're falling so fast, you
Right.
can't land on your feet. It's made for you to impact that ground and hit it hard, to get down, and that's because of they don't want someone to ping you out the sky or something like that. So, and but it's nice because you're landing in snow, so it's nice cushion, and
Yeah.
Right.
we had a spring jump, and there was no snow, and I landed right in a little crack and twisted my knee up real bad, and had to get some surgery, and then when I got deployed, I was still recovering from my knee surgery. The military
Mm.
will get you up to what they believe is 100%, and they'll send you over, and you might not be able to run around, but you can still walk files up and down the hall, or help,
Right.
you know, dish out supplies, or even drive a vehicle and stuff like that. So, when I first got to my unit overseas, I was doing kind of small tasks, and then when I was 100%, they're like, "Okay, you're going out the wire for the rest of the deployment." And my unit's on Wikipedia, the 25th ID, 2nd and 377, headquarters battalion. And you can look us up on Wikipedia. The history of that unit is just outstanding. Great guys, great Brotherhood, Spartan Brigade, Arctic paratroopers. And, we train in cold weather. We sleep in cold weather, and everything we do is in extreme cold weather. I remember running 15 miles, war dog, 10, 15 miles in snowshoes. And by the time you get back, you have like ice all on your nose and your eyebrows, and you look like Jack Frost.
Yeti. You look
Yeah.
like Yeti.
But we condition ourselves in that, and
So winter
And,
fishing for you is easy.
Yeah.
oh yeah,
Yeah, that's like no problem for
I,
you.
I love sitting in a tent drinking beer all day and just watching a hole. Like that's
Oh,
easy peasy,
ice
man.
fishing. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and but then when I got back and I got in that, all wounded soldiers go to a wounded troops battalion, and that battalion's job is to rehabilitate you to be back in the service, or help get you out into your civilian world. So, and it's as quick as possible. We're turning tables, like a restaurant.
Mhm.
It's in and out. And military's time frame of quick and possible is 6 months to a year. So you're sitting around just twiddling your thumbs, and you're like, "Oh, this is nail biting." And then when I got out, the military job is not to heal you. That's the VA's job. So then you go to the VA, and there's a gap. I feel like there's a big gap between military and VA transition, and they've gotten better. It's a lot better now than it was 20 years ago.
Right.
And I got out, and I had PTSD. I was drinking a little more than I should have. I was abusing prescriptions, and all the classic red flags the soldier has when they get back. We all saw one of my favorite movies. I think represents a lot of soldiers is Mending the Line. We've a lot of in this community seen this movie, and if you haven't, you need to go watch it. So
Yeah,
for
for sure.
everyone listening, y'all need to watch Mending the Line. And there's a book in there called Casting Forward. That's a great novel, and that has to pertain with another Marine that kind of his story and stuff. But we all come back, and then that movie portrays all those things the soldiers dealing with, and then just like a lot of soldiers' stories, I found fly fishing, and that was healing for me. I had to, as they say, I had to go out and do the recon. I had to figure out where I'm going to fish and what the fish are biting, what time of year it is, and what line I'm going to use, what weight, what reel, what am I going to wear, what am I going to pack to eat? Is it going to be overnight? If I do catch the fish, what are the regulations to keep it? And how I'm going to capture the moment. Am I going to capture the moment? So you have all that, and the list goes on and on. Like that's just a few little things, because when you're packing up equipment, now you're talking about, am I taking split shots? What size? What size hook?
Right,
Like
right.
do I need extra carabiners? Do I need, how many pliers do I need? What knife should I? So the list goes on. So it has a little bit of that, kind of that, for the soldier that has that little bit of kind of same appeal. You're
Right.
packing your bag, you're packing your equipment, and now you're on an adventure. And as a soldier, we all love adventures. Like no matter where we're going, what we're doing, yeah. So you're going to an unfamiliar place or maybe a familiar place. I tell people these rivers that I fish all the time, the North Anna, the South Anna, and the Pamunkey. And there's these rivers are like, they're like gold to me. Like a lot of people don't fish them because a lot of people don't know about them, or people do fish them and they don't know how to fish them, so they don't catch what they
Right.
expected to catch. And
Mhm.
I go out there and I see people throwing Yamamoto 12-inch worms, and I know right now it's panfish season, and they're not going to hit anything bigger than a hopper.
Right.
And
Right.
I've caught citation smallies, citation stripers, citation bluegills, and sunfish, and citation crappies, all out of these rivers. The rivers have
Wow.
big fish. You just got to know where to look. And
Right.
a lot of people go out there and they're like, "It's only a foot deep, and I'm not going to catch nothing." And just last year, I caught a citation smallie in only a foot deep water because
Wow.
he was under the back of a log around a bend. Like, and I'm out there all the time just slinging line,
Right.
and when I had gotten out of the service and got in Project Healing Waters and got into fly fishing and realized I can use fly fishing not just for trout, but for everything, it was game over. Like I threw all
Right.
my old tackle away. I had thousands and thousands of dollars of like just Yama $20 spinners and swimmers and just like crawfish
Right.
and carrot stick rods, and just like expensive equipment. And I was like, all this stuff's obsolete because all I need is this small little box right here,
Right.
and I'm catching giant fish. Like,
Heck
why is
yeah.
nobody else doing this? And then I found out years later it's because it's not easy. It's harder. It's
Yeah.
harder. It's a lot harder. But just like a soldier, you got to work your muscles. You got to work your mind. You got to put in the time to get the reward. And so I did that years and years for about 2 years in Alaska before I came back to Virginia and started going to school, and I started doing that here, and I said, well, why is nobody fly fishing these rivers? Why is nobody fly fishing in this area? Like,
Right.
and so that's when I started fly fishing studios and started the local guiding and stuff like that. And within the past 5 years, it just kind of started gaining popularity and blowing up. And now I have people that want to do, guided trip on the South Anna, and these same people have lived around here all their life, and you can float the South Anna River. It's a 4 to 6 hour float from the 33 bridge to the
Perfect.
54 bridge. You put in and you pull out. And and when you get there, uh, if you do it during the right time, you'll only have to drag twice. And if you do it towards the end of summer, you're going to have to drag a little bit more, and that
Right.
can be a big workout for a lot of people. And these people, they float it and they're like, oh, it's a small river, it's not that wide and it's not that deep, and it's only got deep pockets here and there. And I fished the whole thing and didn't catch nothing. And I go, well, where did you fish? And what did you use? Did you fish by the power lines? Because that's where a lot of fish like to hang out, by the power lines. You fish on that stretch where you have that 6-foot drop that's only like 3 feet wide, because I've caught huge fish out that little hole. And they're like, I didn't know you could catch fish like that. And I'm like, well, you should go with me. Let me show you where to catch fish. And they're like, okay. And then I'll take them out there. And I tell people, I have a no fish policy. A lot of people are like, oh, you shouldn't do that. They pay you and you gave them your time. But I tell people, if we don't catch fish that day, we're going again. You don't have to pay anything. You paid
Right.
me for the day of fishing, and I'm going to give you a day of fishing,
I
not
like that.
sightseeing. And if I
Nice.
take you fishing and you don't catch nothing, we're going back. We're going to go
Right.
back, and you're going to catch something.
Right on.
Until you catch something, my job is not fulfilled as a guide. So, and I've been
I
with
love
guides.
that.
Yeah, I've been with guides where I've paid them, and they've taken me fly fishing, and I won't name names, and I've caught like 6-inch brookie, and that was it. The trip was done.
Right.
And we were there for 6 hours, and I kind of was like, so we're not going to reschedule? No, no, no. I can give you a discount of half. And I'm like, okay. So that stuck with me. Like, man, I would hate to be a guide and then say, well, you paid for it. And that's the day. I'm sorry it rained and the river was high and the fish were low and it was sucky and your launch fell in the river and you lost the rod and you didn't catch nothing. You paid me for the day though. So if you want to
Right.
Oh,
go again,
wow.
you got to pay me again. That's
Right.
that's not. I believe that's not fulfilling your job as a guide. So
That is one of the trickier things for sure in guiding, and kudos to you for having that policy. I think it's awesome to watch you build out the community in your area and focus on really, you know, encouraging people to explore the world of fly fishing in an area that seemingly never did that before. Going back to when you left the military, I've heard one of the hardest challenges of it all is losing that brotherhood that's there on a daily basis. Speak a little bit about what that challenge was for you, as well, beyond just the PTSD and stuff. But what has community meant to you in the military and even today?
so when I got out and the service, and I found Project Healing Waters, and it helped fill that gap of like being alone on a journey. You've been in the military so long with these brothers, these people that you literally trust your life with, and now some of these guys are carrying on in the service, and then some of these guys are getting out and they're going back to their home states, and now you're all alone. You don't have no brotherhood no more, and Project Healing Waters gave me that brotherhood. And then when I moved from Alaska back to Virginia, I lost that brotherhood again. And it was, and at that time I just had was married to my first wife, and we're having our second child together. And you know they say in the military, your first wife is a give me, because for some reason a lot of soldiers that get married end up getting divorced with their first wife because of just the everything the soldier's going through, and she supported me the best way she could. We get along great. Um, the, and our my son and daughter that we had together, they live with me and they live with her. So they go see her during the summer,
Mm.
and they come and stay here during the school year. And there's no no negativeness. A lot of people
Good.
can't do that. And then my
That's
my
great.
wife now gets along with my ex-wife. So
Good.
they're friends and they talk, and so that's a great thing that I feel great that can happen. And a lot of people can't do that, and so we're a big family. My but so I got out and I came back to Virginia, and she wanted to pursue her career some, so she went back to Alaska, and then I was really all alone with just my father, and my dad was like, "You need to do something, get a job." So I got a job, and that didn't feel like enough, and I was going to school and getting my associates in culinary arts and working as managers in restaurant and cooking and stuff. And cooking attracted to me because of the same system. You get yelled at in the service, you get yelled at in the kitchen. Everything has to be in a timely manner. Everything has to be in a timely manner.
Right.
Right. Right. There's
There's a
structure.
chain of command in the service. Your commanders all the way down to your private. There's a chain of command in the kitchen. Your executive chef, your sous chef, and
Right.
all the way down. And so that kind of those colors attracted to me. And then as life went on, and I cooked for quite a bit. About 10, 15 years. And I missed birthdays, I missed holidays, and I missed everything. I got up at 6 in the morning. I didn't get home till midnight, full day work, all day work on your feet. And it was at times it felt more strenuous on my body than the military did at sometimes because of just the workload. And it wasn't good for my mental stress. So, and I will tell you that I had a change of heart. When I was going to school, and I met my wife. She was going to school too. We met in college, and I had just gotten out of divorce. And she was the most supportive person when it came to everything. My mental health, my physical health, my military lifestyle, me just trying to fill this empty void of not being in the service no more, because it is shell shocked. You get a little shell shocked, like from just adrenaline rush days to just like office space days. Like, where's that
Right.
fax machine at? and,
Right. Right.
and I I found Project Healing Waters again in Richmond, and this was not as soon as you think it was. This was actually just a couple years ago. And
Right.
I was trying to do other things. I joined the VFW. I joined the American Legion. I was doing a lot of volunteer work, trying to meet my brothers in arms again. And while all this was going on in the 10, 15-year span of me working and helping, I was also fighting the VA to get my benefits and compensations that
Mm.
um they not that I wasn't not that it wasn't like a notable thing that it was like, oh, he deserves this. More so just how long it takes to get that paperwork and that
Right.
process done. So when I finally got the benefits that I deserved, um, I could change gears, and I did. I changed them about 8, 10 years ago. I said, you know what? I don't want to do this cooking no more. I want to, yeah, I want to give back to the community more. And I really want to pursue this fly fishing thing, like I really like it a lot, and my wife was like, well, do it. So, so I said, okay, well, to make money, you got to spend money. And she was like, well, don't spend too much. So I sold all my old tackle and stuff, and which is what I was saying, mentioning before. And I used a lot of that money that I got from that stuff to invest in fly fishing. And then I was like, well, this is as expensive as hunting. So then I sold all my hunting stuff and got rid of my hunting stuff. I was like, I've gotten enough racks on my wall. I'm good. I'm good.
Right.
That hunting was a little easy for me, because I'm, shooting a rifle, and then
Right.
so I
Right.
was like, let me use a compound. And then that seemed a little easy for me, let me use crossbow until I got to, let me use this primitive recurve bow And I finally found something almost close enough to feel that void of just like that adrenaline rush. And then when fly fishing came, it was a whole nother story because now I'm not sitting in a stand waiting for a deer to come to me. I'm going to the
You're
fish and that
you're on the
fish. And I'm
hunt.
like,
Yeah.
I have
Yeah.
to stalk this trout and
Yeah.
then trick this thing into believing that this horrible woolly bugger I tied for the first time is real. And then it's gonna catch it, you know? And I had started flying fishing, like I mentioned, in Alaska, but I really didn't get into the science of it and the mechanics of it and the casting and all the videos and how to
Right.
do and the
Right.
podcast until years later. And I come back here, I get involved in Project Healing Waters, and and then I realized that the dynamics of this organization has changed tremendously. They have casting clinics now, tying clinics, guiding clinics, trips. The soldiers are, when I used to go to the meets, eh, uh, back in Alaska back then, it'd be like 2 or 3, 4 people. Now that it's like 20, 30 people in a room, it's packed, and you're
Right
meeting
on.
all these soldiers from all different wars, and they
Yep.
and they all have the same thing kinda going on with that I have going on. Stress and PTSD, physical and mental wounds, and a missing puzzle piece, and you get adrenaline and excitement and stories. And I mean, I always tell people I try to learn something new every day. I always when I meet someone, I'm like, tell me something, man. Tell me something about you. Like share some wisdom on me that no one else knows. And it all kind of started filling in itself.
Yeah.
Project Healing Waters has been an amazing help in my personal healing and mental growth. And the organization has helped me meet other soldiers like myself. And then I felt um, so blessed that I was like, well, I need to pay this forward, and I really started started teaching fly tying and casting clinics at my local Montpelier art center right here in Montpelier Beaver Dam area for Virginia. And then I started taking guided trips for the local rivers around here. And I was teaching those beginner classes, and I started helping out more with the veteran organizations and trying to help veterans go, hey, like, don't sit at home and be depressed. Come out on the river and, you know, just be filled with serenity, like,
Right.
and take a deep breath of air and feel the water in your hands. And, I tell people, I said, uh, a lot of people go to church on Sunday. I go to the river on Sunday.
Yeah.
We
Right.
all meet, we all meet our religious needs, and we can all talk to who we believe in our own way. And that's how I do it. I believe I do it with experience, and
Right. Yeah. The Church of Fishing. I love it. Yeah. 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 Same boat.
I, l- I love that you're giving back that way, and again creating community in any way that you can. I mean, it's an important part to be out together doing this stuff and helping one another. I think we're all going through a lot of things, and so it's really helpful to see that you're being involved with all those different communities and even creating your own. So
yeah. And then as I was going to Project Healing Waters, and I'm running my own fly fishing studios Instagram and fly
hmm
fishing studios on TikTok, and started the fly fishing studios on YouTube, and Boyd Waters on Facebook, and just running all these social media pages and making my it's you think it's hard catching a trout on a fly. It's even harder catching a trout on a fly and trying to take a picture or a video of it by yourself, and then you gotta go home and edit all this to put on social media in a way that attracts your audience and gets people to like you or follow you. So I'm doing all of this, and within a couple years, our head of the Project Healing Waters program for Richmond McGuire, Tony, he goes, "Hey Boyd, you're really good at that. Would you like to run our Facebook page?" And I'm like, "Sure, I will love to do that." He goes, "Okay, you're now the official communication specialist for the Richmond McGuire's Project Healing Waters uh, here
Nice.
for Richmond." And I was like, "Well, thank you. I'm privileged. Thank you for letting
I
me
love
do
that.
that."
Right.
So you're doing all that at the same time that you're designing some of the coolest deer hair patterns, from Snoopy to Bigfoot to, I mean, some of the coolest, different patterns you've created. They're awesome.
Yeah, that was something I got into in the past 6 years. I deer hair. I got into the deer hair, and I was
It's
always
not
making.
easy.
No, I was always making characters, and it was my kids that told me I needed to start posting them on social media. And I have characters that I've made that I'll probably never see ever again. I never took a picture of that. 6 years ago that I was making like R2D2 out of deer hair, just simple shape patterns, and just giving them to friends and stuff. And my children were like, "Dad, that's actually kind of cool. You should post it." And I'm like, "Oh, no, that's silly." And then when Project Healing Waters was like, "Wow, that's incredible. You should post that." Then I was like, "Okay, well, maybe I'll start posting some of these." So believe it or not, the stuff all my social media accounts have kind of happened in the past couple of years. But the deer
Nice.
hair fly tying, the guiding, and the fly fishing has been happening for the past 15, 20 years.
That's
So
awesome.
in the past couple in like I would say 2, 3 years since I've had the Instagram and the TikTok, and I've been posting now more recently posting some of the characters I've made. I didn't realize how popular they would be, and then how a lot of I maybe know like two or three people off the top of my head that do similar things to what I do that are on social media. And I always have people saying, "Well, you're creating complete like art sculptures," and I'm like, "Oh, you can fish them," and they're like, "Oh, I would never do that." I'm like, "No, for real, you can fish them," and they're so I've never
What's
had any.
what's the wildest pattern of yours that you've caught a fish on?
So I did another one was Kenny from South Park. So
Okay.
I made a Kenny like 4 or 5 years ago, and I didn't take pictures. I didn't have social media, and I was fishing with them and showing my friends. We were joking around like, "Oh my god, he killed
You killed
Kenny!
Kenny, yeah.
Yeah, you you beat you biscuit eater!" Like and pulling up bass with it because it essentially it's just orange popper that looks like
Right.
Kenny.
Right.
And then I gave that to my friend, and then I made another one, but I didn't fish with it. And I took it to the show and put it on social media. That's the one you see on my social media account. And people are like, "That Kenny's awesome." I'm like, "Well, that Kenny you can fish with." And people are like, I'll never fish with that." The bigger ones I make, I tell people you can fish with them, but you could lose like an arm because of if the fish is it's not striking on the length, they're pulling it differently. And so I've had like maybe like a bass or a pike after like the 10th or 11th cast, I'll lose like a limb off the character, and I'm like, "Oh my god, this is awesome." But I've never lost the essential that hook with that first shank. Like the main part will always
Right.
catch a
Yeah.
fish, but sometimes like the smaller attaching pieces that I tie in and attach will get bent or snapped off or broke. And that's because I'm catching like king pickerel and really aggressive smallies and
Yeah.
stripers with
Right.
it,
Right.
you know. But I tell people with any fly, you cast a nice streamer about 10 or 15 times, it's gonna get ate up by trout.
Yeah.
So,
We had a previous guest, Doug Oman, told us that he is like, yeah, you could just take like a wine cork and dip it in feathers and huck it out there, and it's gonna work. So, your
Yeah.
deer hair Your deer hair, Kenny is just like that.
I got to tell you,
uh,
it's impressive. I took a shot this weekend tying some stimulators, and the deer hair part of the 6 that I tied, I texted Ed after the first 3, like none of them are fishable. There's just too much shit on top of them. Like I can't see the eye hole, right? The eyelet for the hook. I'm like, it was so frustrating. I'm like, I'm just gonna buy stimmies, and then I woke up in the morning and I sat down again and I was like, okay, let's do this again. Let's try this. And I actually tied 3 that are fishable. I actually
Isn't
like
that
broke.
great?
Yeah,
Yeah.
once I figured out like, okay, stop coming so far up on the hook, whatever. But it is like tying deer hair is not easy. It's really hard to get it stacked on top so it doesn't
Oh,
slide to the
yeah.
side. Like
And
it's
I'm
it
still learning. Yeah.
yeah, like your creations, they are art. I'm on the same boat. I would never fish that. I'd be like, this thing is so
Yeah.
cool. Like it would just be like an art piece on my desk.
Yeah, I had someone bought a I did a like a Dotson, like a wiener dog,
Yeah.
and
Okay.
they bought it for like $150, and I did it after their dog, and I had a base for it and all that stuff, and this is a smaller one. So as my pieces get bigger, they get a little bit more pricier, and I do custom work. So I have people hit me up and go, "Hey, can you make this for me?" And I say, "Sure." And then I always ask them, "Do you mind me posting it?" And some people are like, "Nah, I don't want you really posting it. Like it's a
Right.
surprise." And then I'm like, "Well, take a picture and tag me in it," and that never really happens. And then I
Right.
have
Right.
some people that are like, "Yeah, post it," like, "Oh, I can't wait to see it." But I made a Dotson, and that was the only person I know of that has fished with one of the deer hair creative flies that I made. And they said they fished with it about 15 times, and then they lost it, and then they wish they'd never fished with it.
Oh man.
Right.
And I was
Right.
like, "I'm so sorry, like, I can make you another one and give you a little deal on it," and they were like, "No, that's fine." And
Right.
they actually want me to make something else. They were like, "I'll get back with you. I actually want something else for you to do." And I was like, "So I'm actually in the process. I don't wanna say what it is because 'cause I'm gonna post it, but,
Right.
you
Right.
know,
That's cool.
but
Yeah,
yeah,
I
I've
saw it
made
this
some
last
of
show. I saw it this last show. You like sold out of your stuff.
Oh, yeah. So I took, I had Wolfman, Snoopy, Woodstock, I had another Kenny, I had a Mothman, um I had a turkey that I donated to the Project Healing Waters booth for their raffle.
Right.
I had a couple other flies. I can't quite
Yeah.
remember all the top. I had a red cardinal and a couple other things. And the first day, it was like people were coming over there checking it out, and seeing my stuff, and then, they look at everyone else's table. I'm like, "Nobody wants this stuff. Who wants to spend $300 on a Wolfman?" Like, and, stuff like that, and, I make with the flies, I make, these bases. I have bases right there. But I make these wooden bases. I go out, um, I use the racks from deer I've gotten or friends that have extra racks, and they're like, "Here you go, bro. Here's a whole hide of deer hair you can cure and use, and here's a deer head." And I'm like, "Oh, thanks, man. You couldn't just cut the rack off and give it to me." Like, so
Right.
I have people that give me things and things I acquire, and then I go to the rivers, and depending on where I'm at, if I see driftwood going down, collect some of that driftwood and cut it up and use it for some of the display pieces. And
Right.
some of the I don't try to do the rock thing too much because I don't want to take away from the environment. But I might take like 2 or 3 rocks. I'm talking about, when I say rocks, I mean pebbles. So
Yeah.
little
Yeah.
pebbles to put on the displays as well. So there is some natural things from the environment locally that I'm using to create the aesthetics and the displays, along with moss I'm sourcing off like line and other
Right.
pebbles and from the rock, or from like a garden shop or something like that, and a Home Depot. So I'm sourcing all these materials and making these displays custom on the piece, So, maybe I did a turkey and I need to make more of a woodland display, or maybe I did a wolf man. I really want to focus on him standing up on the display and have a little bit of grass around him. And the things I use for grass are deer hair. Everything I'm using to make the display is something we use for fly fishing. We use small pebbles and stuff like that when we're tying encased flies that look,
Hmm.
and those encased flies use moss and pebbles to make their casings for them to go inside of, and then I use deer hair for the colors of deer hair for the grass and the aesthetics and stuff like that, and I make these displays, and then I sell them, and I had made all this stuff and I set it all up, and the first day I had people come and take all my free stickers and was like, yeah, this is awesome. And then the second day, it was like wildfire. Like the first person that came and bought something, and then after that, it was just like next person, the next person.
That's
I had
awesome.
people come in and going, "Oh no, you sold that. I was going to get that today," and I was like,
That's
"Well,
awesome.
could have got it yesterday, bud."
Right,
Um,
right, right.
and then
That's
before
great.
I knew it, my whole table was empty, and I was just like, "Wow, months and months of fly tying for only a couple hours, and then sold out." And then I had all this money, and I told my wife, I was like, "Well, business is doing good because I'm able to use the money I make to buy more stuff, to make more stuff to sell." So it's just it self
It's
sustains itself.
that's right.
I'm spending none of our personal money on fly fishing. I swear, you know.
Good, good.
But
That's awesome.
she's like, she's thinking like, and at the same time, I'm like, I swear, like, I promise I'm not lying, like,
That's
but
good.
Well, you do create beautiful art. It really
Yep.
is awesome.
Creates-
So
Yeah, the creativity is something to behold. Yeah, it's pretty impressive, dude. We love it.
yeah.
well, how about we wrap this up with the GFW hot seat?
Oh yes, yes.
All right. Our first question is, what are you currently celebrating in life?
Oh, my what am I currently celebrating is my children's accomplishments. I have all my kids are doing great. My oldest, he's a full-fledged jock. He's playing football, lacrosse, and basketball.
Wow.
Um, the next one, she's doing choir and focusing on studies. And my middle child, she's doing soccer. Um, my son, he's in the Cub Scouts. And then my youngest, she is achieving patches for her program as well. So they're all achieving great things. So I'm celebrating their accomplishments. So I'm very proud of
Nice.
that. Yeah.
Proud dad moment. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Relishing in your kid's success is a good thing to celebrate, dude.
Yeah. I tell my son all the time, keep it up so you can join the NFL and I can brag about that.
Right? Yeah. Nice. Boy, give us one piece of content, a book, a movie, something that you would recommend to our listeners.
So, what I'd mentioned before, that movie "Mending the Line." Yeah, that's a great. I really really love that movie, and I another movie is I was looking at is it's called Back Country, and it's called North Island, and it's a pretty good movie about fly fishing in New Zealand, and it's really entertaining. It's got surfing. It's kind of for the younger generation, but there's something for everybody right there. And then a book. I don't have one book, but I love that the book Casting Forward. So that is a great book. That's another veteran oriented book, and but yeah, those, if you haven't heard of those movies and that book, get on it. Great books.
Do it up.
Awesome.
Sweet.
What is one of your favorite fishing memories?
Well, the first time I caught a trout, in Anchorage, Alaska. It was on Fort Richardson military base, one of their ponds.
Nice.
I had a very light tackle with a split shot and one of those pre-made Joe flies.
All right.
And I cast it out and I caught like a 16-inch rainbow trout. And I brought it in and I measured it and then I could take it home and I stuck it in a cooler and I cast my line out, not thinking about anything. And as I was putting it in the cooler, I had another one hit the line. I wasn't even fishing it. It was just, and that was all I caught for the whole 8-hour day was those 2 trout. And that was it.
Nice.
So,
That's awesome.
First trout's always a goodie.
yeah.
Boyd, what's one piece of advice you wish someone had given your 20-year-old self?
Make mistakes.
Nice.
Make mistakes. Even if they're on purpose sometimes. That's how we grow. Like
Right?
I feel like if you want to, especially like with me, when I started tying deer hair, that's all I did was make mistakes. So, and
Right?
I tell people like every time I do a deer hair piece, whether it's Godzilla or the Mothman or a Snoopy or Wolfman, it's essentially a experiment until it's finished.
Right? Right.
Because I have no clue what I'm doing and how to do it, but I'm learning, and a part of learning is making those mistakes. So just make
Love it.
mistakes. It's cool,
Yeah, I like it. That's one of my favorite pieces of advice anyone's ever given. Having taught and kids don't know how to fail. They don't know how to make mistakes. And I think we need more of them. Yeah, we
Yeah.
definitely firm believer in that. Good.
What is your definition of community?
My definition of community, just embracing everyone that supports and holds you up and being able to do the same for them.
Nice.
Good.
I like
so,
that.
A good community is only as good as the people that live in it, and if you want a good community, you got to lead by example. So, if I have surround myself with people that I try to embrace and hold up, essentially I'll have people that will do the same for me. And
Right.
so, and that the community of Montpelier Beaver Dam here in Hanover does exactly that. They really do embrace me and hold me up, and I try to pay for it and do the same for them. So
That's
awesome.
great. Love it. Boyd, what's one thing that you've changed your mind about lately?
one thing I've changed my mind about lately, mop flies. Yeah, I love them
Okay.
now. I'm sorry that people hate mop flies. They have such a bad reputation, but for something
Right.
so simple and works so efficiently, you essentially, effectively, essentially, you can make anything into a mop fly. And I started
Right.
thinking about that. I actually told a buddy of mine, I said I could cut a piece of dread off and essentially tie that on, and I have a mop fly. I'm like, and it
Right.
worked, and it worked,
Right.
And so mop flies, I feel like they're
Nice.
underrated. I think they need more love. I feel like mop flies are the redheaded stepchild of the fly world, and they just need more love. It's okay. It's okay to use
Right.
a mop fly, guys.
Honestly, I'll be honest with you. We like our last guys fishing weekend that we took. We were up in Grand Mesa area and fishing some still water. We were out on flow tubes, and one of our buddy's sons joined us for the first time. Sawyer came with us, and I was fishing near him, and he's hooking fish, and I'm like, dude, what do you got on? And he said a mop fly, and I was like, what the hell's a mop fly? And I didn't even know what it was, and Sawyer kind of showed me what it was, and I was like, oh, right on. I don't have anything like that in my box, but I do now because he was catching fish.
Yeah,
So
people-
so I learned from a younger generation of fishermen, what a mop fly was. So that's awesome, dude. That's great.
yeah,
I'm
People
getting
just-
mop flies in.
yeah, they need more love. Mop
Love.
flies Like, they need more love, man. Like,
I'm gonna give him some love. So I'm in.
uh,
I'm good.
Our last question comes from our previous guest, Thomas Watts at the Canadian Trout Bum. And he offered up our first 3-part question.
Mm.
So,
3-part question. Do I need a calculator and a pencil?
no, you do not. You do not. I'll go slow, and we'll do one part at a time together. We'll get through this together. All right. So the first question is, how do you deal with mental health as a man?
Networking. I believe to have a healthy mental mind frame, you have to have, so once again, surround yourself with people that also have healthy mind frames, healthy lifestyles, healthy eating, healthy uh, um, everything. That involves everything from religious or personal aspects to personal life. You got to have a healthy lifestyle as well to have that healthy mind frame, and that networking, by networking and meeting other people that have those same qualities, will essentially rub off on you, and
Right.
and
Right.
that's essentially what Project Healing Waters has done. They have rubbed off all their positivity on me, and it's working. And I want to
That's great.
now I need to give some of this to someone else. So,
Right.
That's
because
right.
I don't deserve it all. There's other
Right.
people that need it too. So, but
Right.
networking, I would say,
We can't do it all
Okay.
on our own.
That's right.
no,
That's right.
no.
Okay, Boyd, you crushed part 1.
Yes, part 1, check. Part 2, do you keep it pushed down or do you deal with it, and how?
Um, I think that is probably the worst thing to do. And when I got on the service, I used to bottle everything up and push it down, and then it got so overwhelming. I would have just horrible outbursts of just negativity, and maybe taking that negativity out on someone else verbally and saying things we don't mean, or taking it out physically on your brand new laptop, and now you're $1,000 down the hole.
Mhm.
I've learned that the best way to deal with emotions is to talk about it. I think
Right.
there's a taboo with that. Like, men have to be so tough, and I tell people, I'm like, hey man, I jumped out of planes and was a bodyguard for some for high ranking officials overseas, and got into all sorts of trouble over there. I know some pretty tough guys. I think I'm pretty tough, but it's okay. It's okay to tell people how you feel, and it's okay to talk about your feelings. And when you do that, when you talk about your feelings and you tell people how you feel, when they say you're taking something off your chest, you are taking something. You're taking that
Right.
off your chest. No difference from going to the river and surrendering yourself to that trout, or going to church and surrendering yourself to a higher power. You got to let that emotion out, or it's just going to fester and rot your core, and and,
Right.
and, and you're just going to be a bad apple, and you have so much potential as an individual to grow, and to learn. And what better way to grow and to learn than to be vulnerable,
Right.
and to express your feelings towards someone else, and allowing them to help you heal, and allowing them to understand a little bit more also will help them in your healing process. So,
Good.
Love it.
Crushed part 2.
Christopher
oh,
too. And
I'm
it's
I'm great at this.
yeah, and
Yeah.
it's almost like you know what part 3 is, but
It's like as long as it's not math or multiple choice, I'll be fine.
all right. So
Exactly.
your last question is, what is 10 times 7? Just kidding. All right. So, how or do you feel the negative stigma of mental health has been lessened over the years in society?
I do not. I do not feel like the stigma of. I feel like it's gotten worse now.
Hmm.
And I think a lot, and I don't want to be political, but I think a lot has to do with the media,
Yeah.
politics, and um, electronics. I believe now, although electronics were made to bring us together and help us communicate faster. Now we're getting more information than we've ever gotten before, and it seems like every time you're on social media or the media or you're listening to politics, it's like negative, negative, negative. You know,
Mhm.
but
Mhm.
he's gonna do a horrible job. He's gonna do a horrible job. All these horrible things are happening in the world because of him, because of her, and you see all this, and now we're getting to a point where people are afraid to speak about what's
Mhm.
bothering them. And they're afraid to talk to each other because they're afraid um to have a disagreement, and
Mhm.
it used to be that we can agree to disagree and still be best friends. But now it's like as soon as someone disagrees with you, you're going to be unfriended, media shamed, and canceled.
Right.
So, and
Yeah.
no, but and there's nothing worse than having a feeling that you have nowhere to go and no one cares about you because now somebody has painted a negative picture about you or has canceled you
Mhm.
or has told other people their opinionated view about you because they disagreed with something that you believe is right or wrong, and now we're really bottling up our feelings and not talking about them
Right.
as much as we could. I mean, just this past
Isolation, right?
couple, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, we're isolating ourselves, we're distancing ourselves more, especially, everything that's happened in the next couple of weeks, you have so much negativity going on, with just things. And I'm not on either side of the fence, but I tell people, I'm like, let this guy do his work. Give the dude a chance. Let him do his work.
Yeah.
You don't gotta agree with things he says, but then again, you don't have to listen to it either. Turn the TV
Right.
off. Turn the
Right.
social media off,
Right.
And a lot of that has to be with information, I believe, as well, and we're not seeing all the sides and we're not seeing all the pictures, and there's nothing worse than that. Like, and as a person, you when you start feeling these ways and you feel like you have nowhere to turn or no one to talk about, that's the reason we have some of these 22 veterans a day and all these different organizations because we just have people not talking to each other no more, and
Right.
we can do better. If we can come together for a Super Bowl, we can come together for a lot of other things, like,
Right. Right.
if we
Indeed.
if we can be happy that America beat Canada in hockey
Right.
and come together for that, we can come together for a lot of other things. And I think more than ever, we need our friends, our family, and our community, and we need to keep that close because that's what's going on around us, and
For
Right.
and
sure.
then we
Right.
need to talk about that, and not keep it bottled up. And but I hate to say it, I feel like we're not going in the right direction now with although Project Healing Waters and all these other organizations are doing all they can to help soldiers and other people like myself in need. There's a lot of people out there that still don't realize they have the help that helps
Right.
out there and they can get it, and
Right.
Yeah.
that
Yeah,
that
we need to do more
yeah,
encouraging of that, right? And creating
yeah,
places for people to do those things. That's what,
no,
you know, that's a big thing of what we're all about.
yeah,
Is creating those third spaces and giving people chances to connect with others, and put those things aside, around something as glorious as fishing, you know what I mean, and just to hang out and be, fishing buddies together, no matter, like you say, no matter what, else is going on or what you believe or whatever. But being able to find common ground to connect with people. And I think I agree with you 100%. I think that's needed now more than ever.
I tell people, I was like, don't dare talk politics, religion, or sports with anybody unless you want an enemy very quickly. But fly fishing, we can talk all day long about fly fishing.
Right? Yeah, absolutely.
That seems to be my number one conversation now, because it's like, okay, I can't talk about these other things, but I can talk about fly fishing. So let's talk about fly fishing.
Right.
No doubt. Well, what's your one question for our next guest? We're multiple parts too. You can have multiple parts.
So I got a good question. I've recently read that fish actually might dream. They share the same sleep patterns as we do, and they put off the same brain wave patterns like humans. And so my question is, what would be the exact moment when a fish decides to take your fly? And is it a rational decision or just a primal decision? And after they do that, do they dream about it?
All right.
Right. Nice. Good.
That's a great question.
Yeah. So that I've thought about that. I'm wondering what fish dream about, and do they dream about the flies that I catch them on? And that could be a reason why they don't hit those flies again, or why they do hit those flies again.
Right.
So
when they're hanging down in those deep holes, they're like, dude, you never believe this. One time I grabbed this fly, thought it was there, and all of a sudden my jaw hurt. Like,
yeah. I always tell people, I'm like, people always go, they go, I wonder what my son was like, what would it be like to be abducted by aliens? YouTube had something to do with this question. And I said, I bet the fish thinks the same thing when I'm catching him and pulling him out that water. He probably swims back like, bro, like, I just been abducted by an alien. Don't go over there, man. And whatever you do, don't eat that hopper. And then everyone that same year is tying chartreuse up hoppers because none of the fish are hitting the other color. So we gotta switch it up, change it a little bit. So, but yeah, that's my question. What is the exact moment when fish decides to take a fly, and if it's a rational or a primal decision, and do they dream about it? So
I love it. You're the first guest who's given us a fact that led to their question. So that's
awesome.
It's cool.
Nice. Yeah.
Well, this has been awesome, man. I think, speaking on behalf of both of us, thank you for your service first and foremost, and
thank you guys for being great Americans.
We appreciate all the things that you stand for, and you're helping out your community and passing along the good benefits you've gotten from your project, Healing Water chapters, and the other aspects you've gained in life. So we just want to say thanks for all that you have done and are continuing to do.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it, man. I really do.
Yeah. Your journey is impressive, and your willingness to embrace it and be on it and be authentic with it. Boyd, I respect that. That's really huge, dude. And I think you deserve a lot of credit and a lot of kudos for it. Like Ed said, that's good. It's good stuff, man. Tell our listeners where they can find you, Boyd. What's the best way they can contact you, see your artwork, see what you do, and what you're all about?
Okay, so on Facebook, it's Boyd Waters. And on Instagram, it's Fly Fishing Studios. TikTok is Fly Fishing Studios. And YouTube, which I don't use as much as I do the Instagram and Facebook, is at Fly Fishing Studios as well. So pretty much Fly Fishing Studios on all social media outlets. I try to get them all, so I know everybody doesn't have all of them, so I try to target all of them. You can also email me at flyfishingstudios@yahoo.com, and you can direct message me through the Facebook or the Instagram app. I do custom orders for deer hair art.
Right on.
So if you hadn't seen, there's your Godzilla.
Godzilla.
That's so awesome.
People always go, how how big is this one,
Right.
So there's your
You
gods. I can make them bigger than this, and I can make them even smaller, like Gizmo. So
you need to
Nice.
mount Godzilla on like a tiny city.
right,
Yeah, like a building.
yeah, it's funny you said that because I Christmas I did Nymphmas Town. I did a little Christmas town. If you go on my Instagram and you scroll down, it's a Christmas town on a little 12 by 16 board, all with hairline foam and um,
Nice.
all the dubbing, and it's all
That's
fly
awesome.
fishing material, and all the people are little nymphs. I have like the Simpsons, the Ninja Turtles on there. So my son was like, next year you should have Godzilla like attacking Nymphmas Town.
Just
Yeah, I
like
love it.
crushing it. Yeah,
I'm
that's
like, you
great.
got it, bud. I'm just gonna make buildings
Right.
and we're gonna just burn it all down and see what happens.
You're
So,
gonna get skilled at that stop and go animation where you take a picture and then
I,
that'll be awesome.
I'm still trying to just take pictures of me holding fish, so
Right.
without the
That's
camera being blurry, So.
yeah.
But yeah, I
Good
have a lot
stuff.
of upcoming projects I'm working on, so you guys stay tuned. You haven't seen nothing yet.
Oh,
Right
looking
on.
forward to it.
That's great. Well, thanks for the conversation, Boyd. Yeah, this has been tremendous.
I appreciate it, guys.
Appreciate it. Talk soon. If you haven't checked out Boyd's patterns on his Instagram that he's tied, you got to go look at his page and just see the different things that he's tied. And they get crazier and crazier every day that he posts a new one, it seems like.
Right. The intricacy in like the sections he was talking about and how he connects them. Incredible stuff. Time consuming.
For sure.
But it is. It's like artwork. It's incredible.
I did a little deer hair spinning in a fly tying class.
Yeah.
That is not easy. And to hold it all together and like keep it and you covered in just deer hair and it's nuts. It's
right.
amazing
and the
what he does with
joints
it.
and they move and it's like, yeah, he's a true artist. And I think too, the other thing, we love having people on here and hearing stories and hearing their stories. It's always interesting to hear what other people have been through. And Boyd's been through some shit, dude. He has been through, with his time in the military. And I got to say, he's an inspiration to watch as he, it takes his experience and uses it, thrusting him forward and doing what he does. Taking people out on the water and getting involved and giving back to veterans in something that he loves and he's discovered. And I just think, as a community member, as a dad, as a guy who loves fishing, like he's the staple for what GFW is all about. You know what I mean? Like he's like our kind of people. And he's just an authentic guy. And it was a real treasure to talk to him. It was cool.
No doubt. His desire to go and help fellow veterans and be involved in those communities and try and lift others up is inspiring and important because I think a lot of men and veterans in general need to be lifted up when they get back and try and integrate back in with civilian world and they lose that tribe and community that you have within the military and we all need that. It's important.
Right. Yeah. I feel like, we could have talked to him for another couple of hours about that. So we definitely got to hook up with him and go fish with him.
For sure.
And here's some more of the goodness that he's doing in his community and out there. So
that and try and catch a big fish with a Snoopy fly or something.
Yeah. And he says some of those big flies, they catch fish. So,
right.
I'm all in, dude.
Yep. We'll have to do it. Well, what are you celebrating this week?
I'm celebrating this weekend. I had all the kids were back. So I had a house full of people, which was really great. Whenever my kids come back and they're all together, just to see them light up with each other. It's a different kind of vibe and it's a really cool thing to watch. as a dad, it makes you feel like you did something right. I haven't fucked up my kids too bad. They enjoy seeing each other and hanging out with each other. So, so that was really good. And then my cousin and his family were in town, and so I got to spend time with them. And
Full
so it was a
house.
really cool, it was a really cool family weekend. Those kinds of times with family, it feeds the soul. And so it was a good weekend for that. So yeah, it was awesome. How about you, brother? What are you celebrating?
I'm celebrating spring. It's in full force here. So it's awesome to be outside in 60, 70 degree weather, really 60. But I dream that it's 70. It's like, the perfect time of year. This is my favorite time of year. You got,
Right.
good weather coming out of winter. You got baseball coming. You got March Madness. You got some horse racing. You got it all.
It's happening, dude. No
It's
more
the
ice
best.
storms in Kansas City, right?
Hopefully not. Hopefully not. You never know. You
Yeah,
could always get
hopefully
one
I
of
just-
those late,
I did-
wet, heavy snows that breaks all the trees and ruins everybody's day,
Right.
which we've had here before. But I think we've made it. But with that has come some allergies, which I'm not. I'm just like sneezing, itchy eyes. I'm just like, gah.
I'd like to tell you it gets better with age. It doesn't. It doesn't. It's still there.
I've slowly developed this spring allergy that it's like every year it just gets a little worse. So
Mm-hmm. Yep. It's going to continue. Sorry, buddy.
no, it's not. It's not. I'm gonna beat it back.
Yeah. I'm thinking about trying acupuncture to get rid of some of this stuff. I don't know. I'll do anything
that it?
now.
Still do anything?
Yeah,
Is
I'll
that
do
a-
anything.
What are they?
I guess that's the
Acupuncture,
thing.
just like your nose?
I've heard from multiple people that can really relieve some stuff. I don't know. I've never done acupuncture, but I'm considering.
Me
it.
either.
Yeah. So anyway, I'll let you know.
What
how
are you
it goes.
navigating?
I am navigating routine. We are this past few weeks I've been out of, I had knee surgery and I'm recovering from that. And so, you do a lot more sitting around. I can't be as active as I want. Like working out hasn't happened. Just my day-to-day tasking hasn't happened. So, I need to get back. Like eating is, is not good. I've fallen out of the daily routines that kind of kept me going and give me energy. And so I feel like a blob, which I know I can't physically do the things that I want to do yet with my knee. So that's, I'm navigating that. Like my daily tasks and daily routine is all a mess and I got to get back to it. So, but the doc gave me the okay this week to get back to, starting to do some more physical stuff. So I'll get back to working out, hopefully
Nice.
get back to eating better. Yeah. So just coming through this surgery that lays you up for a little while. It's just a mess.
It doesn't help that it's spring also brings Girl Scout cookie season. So
Right?
I hear you. I feel you.
Although it's $6 a box, I want to
I know, it's
choke.
crazy.
It's like, God. I remember when they were like $2.50, dude. I get 2 boxes for $5. So yeah, whatever.
And you're old.
I know.
I'm just
But I used to order, seriously, I used to order from my students. I'd order like, boxes of Girl Scout.
No,
It's like,
they were cheaper
yeah,
for sure.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
So anyway, what are you navigating, brother?
I am navigating lawn renovation season. I mean, I just trying to figure out how to make the outdoor space as best as possible this year. So trying to do some dethatching, some aeration, some compost, some overseeding. Like we're gonna go ham on it all, and
You're going all in.
we shall see if it works. I'm gonna give it the good old college try and see what happens.
Yeah. I quit on that shit long ago, dude. I'm just like, I
I
don't
know.
care. It'll grow in how it grows in, and
I know.
I don't care. I'm like the anti-outdoor lawn weed guy. I can't stand it.
If this doesn't work, we're going turf. So
Nice. Sweet. There you go.
actually,
that would
no,
be
we're
my
not. Have you
dream.
seen how expensive it is to do a turf
It's
lawn?
insane.
It's insane.
It's insane. One of my neighbors up the road has a turf lawn out front. And I'm like, oh, it's so green all winter long. And like, it just looks great. And it's like so low maintenance. But yeah, no, it's expensive as all get out.
It'd be. I don't even have that big of a yard, and it's like $45,000 to do it.
Yeah,
I'm
it's
just like,
crazy.
I could buy a new house for 45.
I know. It's crazy. Yeah. I won't do that.
Yeah. So no turf. This better work though. Our lawn is fine. It's just, you have that, you want to have the best lawn on the street type of thing. I know you've given up on that ego trip
Yeah, I
a long
outgrew
time
that
ago.
phase. I'm done. I don't give a shit. I'm the guy that's like, God, I wish that guy would mow his goddamn grass. It's making our neighborhood look like hell. Yeah.
I'm deep in it right now. So
That's awesome.
Well, another great episode.
Absolutely, brother. It was a goodie.
We'll talk soon.
Absolutely. Love you, man.
Love you too. See ya.
That's all for today's episode. Thanks for listening. Make sure to visit our website, guysfishingweekend.com, to check out the GFW merch, sign up for our newsletter, and learn how to get involved with the community. We appreciate you spending even a little bit of your week with us and are glad to have you along on the journey. Stay legendary and happy fishing.